Howdy folks, it's Adriel the Hunting Gear Guy, and this is the Remington Nylon 66. It's a semi-automatic tube-fed 22 that Remington made together with DuPont, I think. DuPont had this new plastic called Nylon 66, and they're like, "Oh, this would be great for a rifle. You got to make one of these." So they worked together with Remington to make one of the first plastic rifles. Now, this thing uses a lot of plastic in it, and that's actually kind of cool because it's something that you're seeing more of today. For a while they got away from this and more towards like standard woodstock kind of stuff. And now these days you're seeing more rifles like the one that I can think of, the Blaze, the Mossberg Blaze uses a ton of plastic as well. But this, yeah, I really like how they use the plastic in it. It seems kind of classy. So before we get too far, let's just make sure it's empty. I can see that the chamber's empty, and I can see that there's no rounds in the tube. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at this thing? Now, one of the reasons why I could see that that it was empty in there is because it's actually got a colored follower that follows the tube, and the tube actually it loads from the back. So you twist this guy here, and you pull out the tube, and you can see that colored tip that that pushes the rounds in and up. It kind of reminded me of a Beretta 96, if you can believe it, how it pushes the rounds kind of up into the ejection path and out. It looks just from this tiny little port on the side here like it would be really well controlled, but it's not. It just kind of like launches the round up on top there, and the rifle just kind of takes care of it. It just kind of figures it out on the way, and it surprisingly works pretty well. So kind of surprising, kind of interesting. Getting the rounds in the back here, I found it was easy to just like thumb them in one at a time. Kind of gives you like a little bit of a loading port here. And as long as you aim the rifle down, the bullets want to go like nose down anyways. So it kind of helps that way. I do like some aspects of loading from the back here. Unlike the tubes that go from the front, you're not putting your hand over top the muzzle. You're keeping it nice and safe at the back. And if you were prone taking some shots at some targets or something like that, this would be a little bit nicer because, again, you just have to tilt it down just a little bit and you can put those rounds in there. So it would be nice for that. There's just this little nub right there, and that goes in the side, and then you twist it to kind of lock it in place. Now, although it looks like it has a steel receiver here, this is actually like a glorified dust cover. It's just a stamped sheet metal cover. That's also where you've got your dovetails if you want to put a scope on here. And it's also what this rear sight attaches to. The rear sight doesn't actually attach to the barrel. And believe it or not, you see all this plastic here? From the front to the back, and it connects right in the middle. It's all one piece. It's a crazy huge single plastic piece that that they've got going on here, which is nuts. Most people would be like, cut it off here. There's your buttstock. Cut it over there. There's your forestock, and put some metal in the middle and call it a day. No, a lot of plastic going on in here. I'll strip it down for you guys to kind of show you. Since I'm kind of going from back to front here, no butt pad on here, but I get it's a 22. It doesn't really need one. It's got some grooves in there to kind of catch on your shirt, but it's still pretty slippery. I really like the Tang safety, so it's got just a safety right there. It's very clicky, very positive, which for a 22 is fine, and you can ease it forward to get kind of a quiet click out of it. There's on safe and there's off safe, so pretty positive in any case. And I bet you that's hand painted. I bet you someone's job in the factory back in the day was like getting a little paintbrush and painting on the red dot for the safety there. Again, we've got that sheet metal top. Now the charging handle here, it's actually quite light. It's actually a two-stage. So there's the second stage. First stage is quite light, and then second stage is right there. You have to hit that second stage to actually jog a round up onto the carrier. It's not really a carrier, it's kind of a feed lips there, but when you pull it to that second stage is when it pops a round up for you. That's kind of an interesting thing as well, because it means that this first part is very easy to do, and the second part is will catch a lot of the recoil on the way back. So it's something like Glock 17s have like a two-stage spring. So pioneers, maybe. We've got a fully adjustable rear sight here, so it's got an adjustment screw right there for windage, and it's got an elevation screw on the top for elevation. And there's flat, and this one will be a flat or a Phillips, or most people would just use a flat. So flat on either side. Really neat. Really, really thoughtful little rear sight there. Going towards the front, we've got like some fakey like stock inlets here, which is like some of the details they put into this stock to make it look like real traditional, even though it's all plastic. Were really interesting. Really, like you don't see these kinds of features in modern day polymer stocks. They just don't bother anymore. But back in the day, they weren't sure if people would like that or not. We've got a fixed blade rear sight, and you can see it's got kind of a swoopy profile to it, so it shouldn't snag too much on it, but it is quite tall, which is nice. The owner here has painted it red just to give it a little bit of contrast. And then we've got our standard muzzle, so not much to talk about there. Now to take this thing down, I'm going to start with these two screws on the receiver here. I'm going to be very careful because these rifles are, well, this one's older than I am, and most of them are. They're pretty old rifles out there. I'm just getting loose. We just have the screws on the one side, and they're interesting how they work as well. They're kind of like Chicago screws, but kind of not, because I mean, there's some round guys on the other side there, but that's just in the receiver dust cover kind of thing that they got there. So I'm just getting that rear one loose there, and there's the rear one. This front one's usually a little bit tight. There it goes. Charging handle, just take it out. It's just got a little spring-loaded nub on there that holds on to it. And now this top dust cover is going to come off. I'm just going to gently take it off, and you can see that there's our rear sight. It's just on that dust cover kind of a thing, right? This would be a dust cover on any other rifle, and you can see it's just stamped sheet metal, really. And here's where you can see that bolt was not riding in metal. It was actually riding inside this plastic top here. Let me just put the charging handle back in for a second so I can just show you. There's the bolt moving back and forth. This front part, if I could just roll that over just so you guys can see clearly. Look, it's just open. There's that orange tip I was talking about. And it's just such a wide open system. It's got like the top of the barrel is chopped right down to the chamber, so it's very flat there, and it's very open and transparent. So really interesting. There's the on the rear here. There's our second stage spring. So first stage, second stage, right there. Interesting, right? Interesting. This pin here is going to hold on our detent for the safety, and I believe a couple of these things come out fairly easily. I think that's our ejector, and there's another piece. No, there's no other piece on the other side here. So a couple of more screws and pins. I'm not going to take this thing down any further. I just really wanted to show you guys how that bolt just rides right inside that plastic there. Really interesting. Now we're starting to see this come back in 22s, but Remington had it way back in the day. There's a couple of really interesting things about this rifle. One, it's pretty light. It's 1.9 kilograms or 4.19 pounds, 4.2 pounds. So fairly light rifle. A lot of the weight's to the back too. There's not really much up front here. So it feels like you could really hold this thing up forever. And it's pretty great for that. No sling studs on this model. Maybe some of the other ones came with it. Maybe not. Again, I'm not an expert on Remington Nylon 66s. I've just got this one. Now, the other cool thing about this rifle is that reliability is actually pretty good. I mean, I say that because a lot of modern 22s, the reliability is not that great, especially with some of the cheaper ammo. I had some ammo that this gun didn't like to run, but I haven't found a gun that ammo likes yet. So I don't really know what to say about that. With decent quality ammo, though, it ran great, which is like surprising again because those modern guns don't do it terrifically well. And from what you see when you take this cover off and you see what's going on for the feed path on this thing, it looks like it shouldn't work, but it works fine. So should you get a Nylon 66? Well, they don't make them anymore. So really it's a question of, do you want a used 22 that is a nylon 66. And I think that is very personal. That very much depends on you and what you're looking for. If you shot one of these as a kid, or if you're just looking for like a classy old 22 that's still kind of modern in some interesting ways. It's a super interesting gun. There's something to be said about not having any magazine on the bottom too, just being able to use a flat palm shelf on the bottom of a rifle. And this one does it great because there's nothing there. There's no magazine or anything. So very good if you want to do some target practice like that. Otherwise, just a cool old rifle. And I think if you were to get one of these things, you should probably get one soon because they're going to start like creeping up in price as more of these things fail due to wear or neglect or rust or whatever. You're going to start seeing fewer and fewer of them on the market, and the price is going to slowly start creeping up. So if you really want one of these things, you should probably look at picking up one soonish before they start creeping up in price. Anyways, thanks for watching. Okay, here goes 5. 10. 15. This should be one too many. Whoop. Let's grab that one. And let's leave that one back. Close up here. You recording?
Yeah.
Perfect. Seems like a decent hit. Is it focused on it? Just touch it. No, focus.